I paid child support for 12 years. Then her new husband ordered a DNA test. 12 years. That's how long I believed I had a daughter named Lily. And I loved her. God, I loved her more than anything. I remember the first time I held her in that hospital room. 6 pounds, squirmy, red-faced, a tiny wail that sounded more like a squeak. I cried. I remember that. I wasn't even supposed to be there. Her mother, Chelsea, didn't want me in the delivery room. Said she needed peace. But I waited outside the whole damn night, just sitting there in the hallway with a vending machine coffee, staring at the door like a dog waiting for its owner. Eventually, one of the nurses came out and gave me the news. She's here, she said, like it was the most casual thing in the world. But to me, it was the beginning of everything. I wasn't married to Chelsea. We weren't even officially a couple. More like one of those messy, undefined things you end up in when you're young and dumb and think sleeping together every other weekend means something deeper. But when she told me she was pregnant, I stepped up. I told her I'd be there. And I was. I was there through the appointments. I paid for the baby stuff. I even moved closer so I could see Lily more. Chelsea never wanted me too involved. She liked control. Always did. But I figured, hey, as long as I get to be a dad, I'll take what I can get. I didn't fight when she asked for child support. Didn't ask questions. I just paid. Every month. On time. Even when I was broke. Even when I lost my job and had to DoorDash just to keep up. My friends told me to take her to court when she started keeping Lily from me for weeks at a time. But I didn't want to make things worse. I thought, eventually, it would settle. It didn't. Chelsea met someone new. Brian. A clean-cut finance guy who wore tucked-in polos and called Lily Princess, like he was rehearsing for a role. At first, I was glad. Maybe he'd be good to her. Maybe she'd finally have stability. But the more time passed, the more I felt pushed out. Chelsea moved cities. Said it was for work, but suddenly weekends became impossible. Schedules clashed. Lily was always busy. And then, one day, the messages just stopped. No updates. No photos. Just silence. I tried. God knows I tried. I emailed. Called. Even showed up once. Drove 3 hours just to stand outside an apartment door no one opened. It was humiliating. But I still paid. That child support check kept going out like clockwork. Then, earlier this year, I got a letter. Not from Chelsea. From a lawyer. Brian wanted to adopt Lily. It felt like being stabbed in the chest. Like someone was officially erasing me. The letter said they needed my consent. That it would be in Lily's best interest, and that Brian had been a consistent father figure. I read it 3 times before I called the number. I told them no. I told them I was her father, and no piece of paper was going to change that. And then came the question that cracked the ground open beneath me. Would you be willing to take a paternity test to establish biological parentage? I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. I thought it was some kind of tactic to shake me. I said, I've been paying support for 12 years, and now you're asking me if I'm even the dad? The lawyer didn't flinch. Just said, we need to clarify all legal claims. I said fine. Let's do the test. And I did. A week later, I got the call. Not a letter. Not an email. A call. A woman from the lab. She sounded nervous, like she didn't want to be the one to tell me. Mr. Harper, I'm sorry to inform you. That's all I remember. The rest was static. I wasn't Lily's father. 12 years. 12 birthdays. Hundreds of nights wondering if she was warm, if she was safe, if she knew I loved her. And just like that, a sentence and a swab of saliva, and I was a stranger. I didn't cry right away. I didn't even react. I just sat there, staring at the wall, wondering who the hell I'd been doing all of this for. And that was just the beginning of what I was about to find out. The next day, I called Chelsea. She didn't answer. So I texted her. Just one line. I know the truth. 5 hours passed before she replied. Please don't come here. That was it. No denial. No apology. Just that. So, of course, I drove to her apartment. The second I pulled up, I saw her on the porch. Arms folded, stone-faced. Brian was behind her, like some sort of emotional bodyguard. I half expected him to hand me a cease and desist letter. You shouldn't have come, Chelsea said. Too late, I replied. We're talking. You owe me that much. She looked down, said nothing. You knew, I said. Didn't you? Her silence was all the answer I needed. For how long? I asked. She bit her lip. I suspected when she was a baby, but I wasn't sure. You suspected? My voice cracked. 12 years, Chelsea. 12 years of checks, calls, visits, 12 years of being a dad to a girl I never got to keep for more than a weekend, and you suspected? I didn't ask you to do all that, she said quietly. That did it. You didn't ask? I snapped. No, you just accepted the money. You let me show up for birthdays and holidays like I was some glorified babysitter while you built this fantasy with Brian. And all that time, I was just the decoy, wasn't I? Brian stepped forward, arms crossed. Dan, I think it's best you leave. No, I said. You don't get to tell me anything. You get to sit there and listen while I unravel the last 12 years of my life, thanks to your wife. She's not my wife, Brian muttered. Not yet. That was a twist. I almost laughed. Figures. Guess the truth doesn't matter to either of you until you're picking out cake flavors. Chelsea sighed, exasperated. This isn't good for Lily. She doesn't know yet. She thinks you're just stepping away. That stopped me cold. She thinks what? She knows we're preparing adoption paperwork. We told her you've been distant, that you agreed to it. You're rewriting history before it's even settled? I asked. Chelsea didn't flinch. We're protecting her. From pain. No, I said, my voice low and tight. You're protecting yourselves. From guilt. I turned to Brian. You want to adopt her? Fine. But she knows my name. She remembers the man who bought her that giraffe at the zoo, who sang to her in the car, who stayed in the ER all night when she had a fever. You're not replacing a title. You're stealing a history. Chelsea looked away. Brian said nothing. I turned back toward my car. My hands were shaking. But before I opened the door, I looked at her one last time. You don't get to decide I don't exist, I said. And if she ever comes looking, I'll be here. And I'll tell her everything. Then I got in the car and drove. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Because now I had one goal. Make sure Lily knew who I was, before they erased me completely. I started with the old shoebox. It was buried in my closet, under years of ignored junk and half-packed memories I didn't have the guts to throw away. Inside were photos, drawings, notes Lily had made over the years. Stuff Chelsea never asked for back. Stuff I kept because I didn't know how not to. There was a card she made in kindergarten. A stick figure of us holding hands under a crooked sun. Me and Daddy, scrawled in purple crayon. I held it in my hands like it was something sacred. And it hit me. I had proof. Not of biology, but of love. So I made a plan. I called my buddy Alan, a videographer who owed me more than a few favors from back in the day. I told him I needed to shoot something. A message. He didn't ask questions. Just told me to come by. I brought the shoebox. That night, I sat in front of his camera, lit by nothing but 2 soft lights and the weight of 12 lost years. And I spoke. Not to Chelsea. Not to Brian. To Lily. I told her who I was. How I met her mom. How I used to sing to her in the car. How we danced in the living room when she had chicken pox because she couldn't go outside. How I waited in that hospital lobby the night she was born, praying I'd get to hold her. I told her about the giraffe. The time I burned a pizza and we laughed because it looked like lava. The way she used to curl up next to me and fall asleep during movies. I didn't cry. I almost did. But I kept my voice steady. I ended it like this. If they've told you I left, I didn't. I was pushed. But not from you. Never from you. You were the best part of my life, Lily. And if you ever want to find me, I'll be here. Always. Alan uploaded it. Password protected. Sent me the link. I didn't post it. I wasn't ready for that kind of war. But I saved it. For someday. Then I went further. I contacted a lawyer. Told him everything. The payments. The paternity results. The attempted adoption. I showed him the receipts, the messages. Everything I could find. He listened carefully. You understand, he said slowly, that legally, you don't have parental rights anymore. I know, I said. But can they just erase me like that? He paused. Legally, maybe. But morally? That's another story. I asked what I could do. Could I sue? Demand the money back? He shook his head. Probably not. But you might have a case for fraud if you can prove she knew the whole time. I thought about that. Would I really take Chelsea to court? Drag Lily into depositions? Make her pick sides? No. But I could stop the adoption. I want to contest it, I told him. He nodded. That, you can do. So we filed. And 3 weeks later, I got an email. A court date. Chelsea was going to have to explain herself in front of a judge. And this time, she wouldn't be able to rewrite the story. The courtroom wasn't what I expected. No grandeur. No dramatic tension like in the movies. Just beige walls, worn benches, and the stale scent of bureaucracy. Still, when Chelsea walked in, holding a neatly stapled folder and wearing that same mask of practiced indifference. My throat tightened. Brian sat next to her. No tie. Just a smug calm, like he'd already won. My lawyer leaned in. Stay calm. Facts first. Emotion later. The judge looked like a woman who'd seen it all. Divorces, custody fights, bitter vendettas. She glanced through our paperwork with the detachment of someone reading a grocery list. Chelsea went first. She kept her voice low, respectful. She told the court that I had been inconsistent, emotionally distant. That Lily deserved clarity, permanence, a family. Then she dropped the word, abandonment. I almost stood. My lawyer placed a firm hand on my knee. When it was my turn, I stood slowly, fingers tied around the edge of the table. I told the truth. About the visits, the payments, the missed calls, the shoebox of drawings and birthday cards. The 12 years I never once hesitated to be there. And then I told the judge about the test. I said it plain. I found out I'm not her biological father. But for 12 years, I believed I was. I loved her like she was mine. And I still do. The judge looked at Chelsea. Did you know? Chelsea hesitated. I suspected, but I never confirmed. Yet you accepted support. I didn't ask for it. He offered. My lawyer stood. Your Honor, she accepted tens of thousands of dollars under false pretense. And now she wants to cut my client out of the child's life without due process. The judge leaned back. This isn't about money. It's about what's in the best interest of the child. That stung, because I agreed. And that's why I said what I said next. Your Honor, I said, I'm not trying to take Lily away. I'm not trying to hurt her. I just want the truth to be known. I want the right to tell her who I was in her life. I want to be in the story. There was a pause. Even Chelsea looked surprised. The judge wrote something down. Then she looked up. I'm denying the adoption petition at this time. You may refile, but not until the child has been informed of the paternity results and has an opportunity to speak with a guardian ad litem. Brian muttered something under his breath. Chelsea didn't look at me, but I knew. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because now the story was changing. And Lily, for the first time, was going to hear the truth from someone who actually lived it. The letter came 2 weeks later. Official envelope. Government seal. My name spelled right for once. I sat on the kitchen counter just staring at it, my coffee going cold beside me. Part of me didn't want to open it. Like if I just left it sealed, I could delay whatever truth was waiting on the other side. But I did. Inside was a notice from the guardian ad litem assigned to Lily's case. A woman named Meredith Chun, neutral third party, appointed to talk to Lily and represent her interests in court. There was a time, not too long ago, when I would have hated the idea. Someone else speaking for my daughter? Deciding what's best for her like I hadn't spent over a decade doing that myself? But now I was just grateful someone else was finally paying attention. Meredith reached out a week later. Wanted to speak to me first. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. She was calm, precise, spoke like someone who knew people tried to lie to her for a living. I'm not here to judge you, she said. I'm here to listen and to understand what Lily might be feeling beneath the surface. So I told her everything. I showed her the shoebox, the photos, the card with the purple crayon. I let her watch the video I recorded for Lily. She didn't say much while watching, just nodded, occasionally jotting things in a notebook. When it ended, she looked at me and said something I didn't expect. She's going to want to see this one day. Maybe not now, maybe not next year, but she will. I didn't realize how much I needed someone to say that until she did. Then she asked the question that caught me off guard. If Lily wanted to see you, and her mother objected, would you fight for visitation? I paused. That wasn't a hypothetical I'd let myself explore. Not seriously. I don't want to force myself into her life, I said. But if she reached out, if she needed me, yes, I'd fight. All the way. Meredith smiled, soft but tired. That's what I needed to hear. A few days later, she met with Lily. I wasn't there. Wasn't allowed to be. But I got the report in the mail the next week. It was brief. Just a page and a half. Clinical. But the last paragraph nearly undid me. Lily expressed confusion over the sudden change in her family dynamic. She has fond memories of Mr. Harper and recalls specific instances of quality time and emotional bonding. When asked if she remembered the last time she saw him, she said, I used to have 2 dads. But now I only have one, and it's not fair. I read that line over and over until the words blurred. She remembered. She remembered me. And now, For the first time since the test, I knew something with absolute certainty. This wasn't just about what Chelsea did. This was about what I still had time to do. The door wasn't closed yet, and I was going to do everything I could to keep it from ever slamming shut. The next hearing was quieter. No dramatics. No shouting. Just tension so thick you could feel it in your teeth. Chelsea didn't look at me when I entered. Brian gave me the kind of nod you give a stranger at a gas station. The judge was the same. Calm. Businesslike. But something in her posture told me this wasn't just another day at the office. Meredith Chun was there too. And when she stood to deliver her report, the room actually felt like it shifted. Your Honor, she began. Lily is emotionally aware beyond her years. She understands more than the adults around her realize. Chelsea tensed, barely perceptible. Meredith continued. She expressed sadness over the absence of Mr. Harper. She recalled memories involving him with specificity and affection. It's my professional opinion that Lily has a formed, meaningful bond with Mr. Harper, regardless of biological connection. I didn't move, didn't breathe. In light of these findings, Meredith said, I recommend that Mr. Harper be granted supervised visitation with the goal of reestablishing contact in a manner that prioritizes Lily's emotional safety. Chelsea spoke up, fast and clipped. We believe that would be confusing for her. The judge raised an eyebrow. Confusing? Or uncomfortable for you? Brian tried to smooth it over. Lily is adjusting to our family unit. We don't want to disrupt her progress. Meredith replied evenly. With respect, Lily isn't adjusting. She's coping. And suppressing confusion isn't the same as stability. The judge looked at me. Mr. Harper, do you want this? I nodded. Yes, ma'am. Not to interfere. Just to be there. Just to show her I didn't walk away. And just like that, she ruled. Visitation, granted. Once a month. Supervised. At a neutral site with a child psychologist present. It wasn't much. But it was something. The first meeting was scheduled for 3 weeks later. I barely slept the night before. My hands shook the whole morning. When I walked into that brightly lit room, plastic chairs, picture books, rainbow posters, I felt like a ghost in my own life. Then the door opened, and Lily walked in. 12 years collapsed in on themselves in that moment. She looked taller, older, but her eyes? Still hers. She froze when she saw me. The psychologist said something gentle, inviting her forward. Lily stepped slowly, like the air between us was thick and hard to move through. Then, softly, hi. Hi. I said, my voice already cracking. She sat. We talked. About school. Her new puppy. Books she was reading. And then, out of nowhere, she asked, why did you stop coming? I swallowed. I didn't stop, Lily. I was told I couldn't. But I never wanted to go. She nodded. Just one small, slow nod. And then she reached out and touched my hand. Nothing more. But that small hand, resting on mine, said everything I'd been aching to hear. She still knew me, and she wasn't letting go. The second visit was easier. Still supervised. Still guarded. But the tension in Lily's shoulders wasn't as tight this time. She walked in with a soft smile, holding a little drawing. It was us, stick figures again, just like that old card. Only this time, there was a heart drawn between us. I nearly lost it. We talked about everything. School. Her favorite YouTuber. Her new math teacher who smells like onions. She made me laugh like she used to, and I realized how much I'd missed the sound of her voice filling a room. At the end, she asked, will I see you again next month? I nodded. If you want to. She didn't hesitate. I do. After that, things moved. Chelsea didn't fight the visits, but she didn't show support either. It was clear she was tolerating it, counting the months until the court let her resubmit the adoption papers. But Lily had her own rhythm now, and that rhythm started including me. One visit turned into two, two into four. By the sixth, she brought a photo album. Said she made it with old pictures she'd found at her grandma's. Some of them were of us, me and her in that apartment I had when she was 5, eating ice cream on the floor. She remembered, not just the events, the feelings. I used to think I dreamed these, she said. Mom never talks about it. I felt my throat tighten. They were real, Lily. Every single one. By the 7th visit, she was asking questions. Hard ones. Why didn't Mom tell me? Why did Brian say you left? I never bashed Chelsea. I never twisted the truth. I just said what I knew. That's something you'll have to ask her. But what I can tell you is, I never chose to leave you. She looked down, picked at a string on her sleeve. I didn't think you wanted me anymore. God. I reached across the table, careful, slow. Lily, I always wanted you. I still do. No test, no paper, no court order changes that. She looked at me, eyes brimming. Then why did it happen? I shook my head. Sometimes, adults mess up. Sometimes they're scared, or selfish, or they think they're protecting you when really, they're protecting themselves. She sat quietly. Just let it sit. Then she whispered, I'm glad you came back. I blinked hard. Me too. As we said goodbye that day, she gave me something. A folded note. It read, I don't care what anyone says. You'll always be my dad. I stood in the parking lot for 20 minutes after she left. Didn't cry. Didn't collapse. I just breathed. For the first time in years, I really breathed. Because she said it. She chose me back. Chelsea finally reached out after the 8th visit. It was a simple text. We need to talk. I stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. We met at a diner off the highway, the kind where old jukeboxes still hang on the wall and nobody minds if you sit in silence. She was already there when I arrived, stirring a coffee like it had insulted her. She didn't say hi. Just, I didn't expect her to remember so much. She did, I said, sliding into the booth. Because I was there. Chelsea exhaled through her nose, eyes on the table. She's asking questions now. About the past. About you. About why we said what we said. And what are you telling her? I don't know what to tell her, she said, voice brittle. I thought I was doing the right thing. Giving her one stable father figure. Not two men tugging her in different directions. She's not a rope, Chelsea. She's a person. And she was never confused, until you started hiding things. She looked at me then. Really looked. And I saw something crack. I was scared, she said. Scared you'd vanish like my dad did. Scared she'd love you more than me. Scared of being alone with her and failing. I didn't expect that. Not from her. She loved both of us, I said. You didn't have to choose for her. Chelsea nodded slowly. It's too late to fix everything. Maybe. But it's not too late to stop making it worse. We sat there in silence. The kind that isn't uncomfortable, just heavy with things neither of us could change. Finally, she said, if she wants to keep seeing you, I won't fight it anymore. I blinked. You mean that? She nodded. And if you want to file for unsupervised visitation, I won't contest it. For the first time in over a year, I felt something like peace settle over me. I'm not trying to replace Brian, I said. But I won't let you replace me either. I know, she said. And I think she knows that too now. When I got back home, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a photo. Lily and me, sitting at that little table from our last visit, her hand on mine. A Polaroid the psychologist must have taken. On the back, scribbled in shaky handwriting. Thanks for coming back. Love, Lily. That night, I took down the old shoebox from the closet. Opened it. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was grieving something lost. I was adding something new. The story wasn't over. It was just finally being told right. 6 months later, Lily spent her first weekend with me. No supervision, no observers, no clocks counting down the minutes. Just us. We went to the zoo again. She asked if I remembered the giraffe incident. I laughed so hard I choked on my soda. She smiled like she'd been waiting years to see if I still did. That night, I made her favorite spaghetti, burned the garlic bread, of course, and we stayed up watching the same old animated movie she loved as a kid. Halfway through, she leaned against my shoulder. Do you ever wish things were different? She asked. I didn't pretend to misunderstand. Yeah, I said. All the time. She was quiet a long while. Me too. But I'm glad you came back. Even if it took a while. I swallowed. I never stopped being your dad, Lily. Not in here. I tapped my chest. Not for a second. She didn't cry. Neither did I. We just sat there, letting the weight of the missing years settle into something bearable. On Sunday night, when Chelsea came to pick her up, something strange happened. Brian got out of the car. Walked over. Hands in his pockets. Hey, he said stiff. She said she had a good time. She did, I replied. Thanks for letting her come. He hesitated. She's a good kid. Strong. She always has been. He nodded. Then, almost as an afterthought, added, You're a part of her story, Dan. No point fighting that anymore. It wasn't a truce. Not exactly. But it was something. Chelsea didn't say much. Just nodded at me before Lily climbed into the back seat, waving through the window. The car pulled away. I watched until it turned the corner. Then I went inside. Poured a glass of something dark. Sat on the couch. and finally allowed myself to feel it all. 12 years of being half a father. A year of being no one. And now? I wasn't trying to win. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just there. Present. Accounted for. Real. Because the truth has a way of surviving, even when people try to bury it. Because love, real love, doesn't die quietly. It shows up. And if you're lucky, if you're stubborn enough, it gets a second chance. Just like I did. A year later, Lily asked me to come to her school's father-daughter dance. She texted me about it. Simple. Direct. Like it wasn't the biggest moment of my life. Hey, there's a dance thing at school. Want to come with me? I stared at that message for 10 minutes. Heart pounding. I replied, I'd be honored. That night, I stood outside her school gym in a suit that hadn't seen the light of day since my cousin's wedding. Kids ran past me, little girls in glittery dresses, dads in suits and polos, and some even in jeans. The usual chaos. Then I saw her. Lily. Hair done up, blue dress, sparkly sneakers she insisted on wearing because heels are dumb. She ran up to me, gave me a hug without hesitation. Right there, in front of her friends. Like I was never gone. Like nothing had changed. We danced. Badly. She laughed at how stiff I moved. I pretended to moonwalk. She cringed and spun away. And then there was a slow song. She held out her hand. Just go with it, she said. I did. We swayed in a circle, surrounded by flickering lights and the faint smell of cafeteria punch. And suddenly, I didn't feel like a ghost anymore. I felt seen. Some of the girls were surprised, she whispered. They didn't know I had two dads. I smiled. What did you say? She shrugged. Told them I got lucky. I held on to that. After the dance, we stopped at the diner. The same one where Chelsea and I had our truce. Lily ordered pancakes at 10 p.m. because she could. I let her. We split a milkshake. She said, You know what the best part is? What's that? She grinned. You're not a weekend dad anymore. No, I wasn't. I was part of her real life now. The everyday kind. The one that's messy and unpredictable and heartbreakingly ordinary. Later, when I dropped her off, Chelsea stood at the door. She didn't say much, just nodded. Brian gave me a quick wave from inside. And Lily? She hugged me again. But this time she whispered something I'll never forget. Thanks for fighting for me. And that's the thing. Sometimes love isn't about being right. Or even being first. Sometimes love is just showing up when it matters most. Even if it takes 12 years. Even if it breaks your heart. Even if everyone else says it's over. Because when it's real, love waits. And if you're lucky, love finds its way home.